Hello, welcome back. And we are getting to the end of this first phase of our course, which is covering authentication. So we just need to close the loop on what you have done so far. So we got the token, authorization token, and now we need to restrict the access to our private network. And if we don't have the token, right? So we are going to implement this verification. Let's dive into the code very quick. So we have added a new location or endpoint, and which it is everything from this port would actually now require a authorization request check, which you'll have added it in here, and you're gonna look at this validation very soon. But before, let's just keep the checking the directive that you have added here. So we have proxy some setting we actually have set some proxy header as part of this forwarding proxy. So we're just adding the host, which the original request came, and the IP that this request was generated. And because you are proxying downstream, you're actually just passing some extra headers with the original request. And then we are proxying the request to a new port, which it is 8003. And this it's implemented down in here on a new server. And this server here, it is to, let's say, this would be our downstream or private server, right? So private servers. This is our private servers from our diagram in here. Would be any servers on this part, right? So we'll actually have this downstream service in here. This is just for now. We don't want to kind of add a new service on our Docker Compose yet. So we're gonna be doing that later. So the correct one would be to have it a new service here. But just for illustration, on this time, we are just going to redirect to a service that you are running in the same Nginx, just for simplicity. But this redirect should be actually to another service outside of the Nginx. Yeah, so this is basically the configuration that we need to do in our Nginx side of things. And now let's dive into the code of validating the token in the request. And we have added here a new validate request, right? Which will basically grabbing the incoming header. We are looking to the authorization header, which will contain our token. And you are doing something very naive here because you want to just exemplify this check now. We are going to have a whole session about token and tokens, dot token specifically. But before we go to that part, we need to understand how certificates works. So that's why we're not diving too far on the token validation here. We're just doing a simple check if the token exists. It is fine. If it is not, we'll just return a 401 token not found. And actually, let's just 401. And then if it exists, you are just extracting the payload itself. So we are splitting the token into different parts, and it's known that the token will contain 3 parts, which it is the header, the payload, and the signature itself. We're just extracting them here, and we are just accessing them here and logging those. So, and the next step would be to retrieve the certificates from our identity authority and loop over the certificates that it's in this endpoint and compare to our key ID on the token header itself, and then convert this into a PEM format and verify the signature with the certificate. So this is the step that would have to be done on a real scenario, and you're going to be looking at those later. But for now, let's just close this loop with very simple verification here. Okay, and it's basically that. Let's have a quick look at it. And for that, I will actually get another browser here where I have a header plugin header where I can actually set a authorization header to my request. So let's very quick here, O2. So everything on port 82 it's now validate looking for a authorization header. So, and you can see that anything else would be following the same, but we have the login, which will still be working because we have another verification on this endpoint. But for everything else, we would require to have a header. And let's just see if the header, if when you have a header, it's fine. Yeah, so now you can see that response from a security service. So basically, we covered a kind of end-to-end of authentication from user authentication and for a service authentication using a authentication gateway, which will be redirecting to a user login page in case of a web client. And if it is a service, you would retrieve the token immediately, and then you would accept the subsequent requests with token to a backend service. This is to close this authentication part of things. Next session, we will look at the certificates and then consequently tokens and much more forward on this course. So stay tuned and see you in the next lecture.